Welcome to Uppsala Castle, or as the locals say, Välkommen till Uppsala slott.
The latest iteration of this remodelled castle now hosts an art gallery and is a pleasant tourist attraction and landmark. But it was once the site of an outrageous act of political violence that would not be out of place in a Game of Thrones script. On the 24th of May 1567, 5 imprisoned Swedish nobles were brutally dispatched by none other than the king himself, King Eric XIV, and his guards. It is thought the king was suffering from a mental disorder, but the actions are in any case absolutely shocking. Among the noblemen were 3 members of the powerful Sture family who were suspected of plotting against the king and had previously been sentenced to death. However, this was an extrajudicial act of barbarism and not the appointed sentence being carried out. Even more outrageous was the fact that one of the victims was the king's former tutor, who was mortally wounded when he tried to calm the enraged monarch. The enmity between the king and the nobles was long-standing and related to political wrangling over Eric's foreign wars, namely the Livonian and Northern 7 Years' Wars in the 1560s. In the former, Sweden was allied with Denmark, Norway, Poland and Lithuania against the Tsardom of Russia. But in the latter, Sweden was fighting the Danes and her allies, including the Polish and Lithuanian Union. Wars are always expensive, and this meant the king levied effective taxes on the nobility to finance the campaigns. The king also resorted to torture of nobles so long as they had been sentenced to death first. This policy led to hundreds receiving the sentence so they could face the torturers, with it later being reduced. Eric's distrust of the powerful landed class paled next to his suspicions over Niels Svanteson Sture, who he thought would attempt to usurp the throne. An astrological reading had more or less confirmed as much, and so events were set in motion. It seems the strain of waging wars had effectively driven the king to psychosis, and he focused all his neuroses on one man. Ultimately, a series of trumped-up charges and maltreatments were meted out that led to the fateful captivity of the Stures at Uppsala. After the king was finished, Svante Sture, Niels Sture, Erik Sture, Abraham Stenbock and Ivar Iversen were killed. Outside the castle, Eric's tutor, Dionysius Berrius, found the agitated monarch and tried to reason with him, but the king ordered his guards to do away with Berrius too. The king then fled to a nearby forest while the events were covered up and the castle was locked. The king apparently recovered and was allowed to maintain control until he lapsed again and brutally dispatched his secretary with a fire iron. Eventually an uprising of nobles did materialise, led by the king's own brothers Charles and John in the summer of 1568. Eric was deposed in January 1569 and the throne passed to his brother John, or Johann III. That's it for this video. Don't forget to like, share and most importantly subscribe, and you can also support the channel on Subscribestar via the link in the description. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.